I wrote down a list of everything that I would possibly want in a man. If I
Okay,
gave it to my
bro.
brother, he'd be like, half of that is unrealistic. In my mind, the high value man is a unicorn because
What's the unrealistic part?
I would like a man that's got to be like 6'1", 6'3", single, no kids, never married, makes over 6 figures. You know,
that is the unrealistic part.
Which part? She
The
named a lot
over
of
6
shit.
figures, because that right there is what would shrink her pool.
So you have to like figure out what your non-negotiables are and what are things that you can like.
Men are just sick of women's never-ending list of demands. They only want guys who fit their impossible standards. If you're not driving the latest Tesla or making bank, forget about it. They'll cheat on you in a heartbeat, even if you've given them everything they want. And approaching them? Might as well be talking to a brick wall. They can't hold a conversation to save their lives. But here's the kicker. These are the same women who complain about men not meeting their expectations. Talk about double standards. If a woman dares to approach a man, she better be ready for rejection. And don't be surprised if he lies about having a girlfriend just to get rid of you. After one rejection, they're out. Meanwhile, men have to jump through hoops just to get their attention.
But the world doesn't owe you understanding. So men don't go to women and say, accept me short, accept me broke, accept me fat. But we go to them and say, accept us ran through. That's not a fair deal.
Well, some
Like,
women,
so-
some women, a
so
lot of
it-
women do accept men that are short and broke.
Not if you look at the data.
a
Not if
lot
you look
of
at the data.
women
Men only
do.
swipe right on, or women only swipe right on dating apps 5% of the time. 5%. On the high end, 20%. Women do not accept, and that's the number one place that people are meeting today. So women we do not accept men that are short, broke, and fat. Historically, even throughout all of history, most men didn't even get to reproduce. That's a privilege.
Women criticize men for the same behavior they exhibit themselves. They'll make excuses for their own actions, but won't extend the same courtesy to men. Classic. Men are expected to be entertaining and charming, but when the roles are reversed, women couldn't care less about making an effort. In the end, it's no wonder men are turning to the MGTOW ideology. Who can blame them? You have to wonder why guys bother putting in so much effort for so long. It's because it's just not easy. Coming up with interesting conversations out of thin air? Yeah, that's a tough one. But hey, men have to do it because women won't. And while men are left dealing with the fallout, women just move on and reject the next guy who comes along. So when we talk about men not approaching women anymore, it's not just one thing. It's a whole cocktail of reasons, all stemming from the messed up dynamics between men and women today. Let's face it, the dating game has changed a lot from what it used to be. Why do men approach women differently now? What's changed? Men used to chase women and make fools of themselves, but deep down, did they even want to be with them?
I saw a video the other day. A girl's like, men are afraid to come up to us. They're not afraid to come up to you. I mean, maybe some feel a little insecure, but by and large, they're just like, I don't need this aggravation today. I don't need some diva aggravation today, because more often than not, what do? Nasty, like a little attitude, puckered lips. You know the pucker look. They're tired. They're tired. They're tired of getting made fun of. They're tired of being, abused. They're tired of getting, oh, I'm a meme now. Because why? Because I looked your way for 2 seconds in the gym?
Back in the day, before social media and smartphones, getting in touch with a woman was a mission. You had to physically approach her to show you were interested. You had to dress the part, follow social norms, and even get the girl's parents' approval before asking her out. But now, with the click of a button, you can chat up anyone, anytime, anywhere. It used to be hard work. You had to plan everything meticulously. But nowadays, it's a whole different ballgame. Back in the day, dating took effort. You had to plan everything yourself, which made it exciting. Without the option of checking someone out on social media, you had to rely on the image of the person you liked in your head. That's what drove guys to approach women face to face and ask them out. People tended to date within their own circles because distance was a real issue. But today, you can have a live online conversation with anyone, anywhere in the world. This convenience has its perks, but it also takes away from the authenticity of dating. So why aren't men approaching women anymore? It's because men weigh the pros and cons before making a move. And these days, the cons far outweigh the pros. Approaching women often leads to humiliation, being labeled as a weirdo, or just being ignored and socially rejected. Most men are seen as predators or desperate, unless a woman already knows them and wants to be approached. The risks of social embarrassment, rejection, and being ignored are just too high for men to take the chance. Even if a man approaches a woman respectfully, she might still embarrass him. I saw a video where a man tried to start a conversation with a woman without being rude or weird, and she turned it into a joke on social media to get laughs and attention. With all this in mind, it's no wonder men are hesitant to approach women these days. Different women react differently to approaches, adding to the uncertainty and risk involved. Think about how you react when approached by a homeless person. You likely go on the defensive and avoid engaging with them. The same goes for women, who place a high value on social status and image. Even though women's circumstances are much better today than they were a century ago, they still feel the need to be cautious, as there's always the fear of being taken advantage of by men. The problem arises when you see a woman publicly humiliate a man for simply approaching her in a public place. This suggests that modern women no longer value average guys or men in general. Do you think a woman would treat Mark Zuckerberg the same way she treats average men who approach her? Of course not. Zuckerberg, being a billionaire with influence, wouldn't be subjected to such treatment. This highlights how a man's status and perceived worth greatly influence how he is treated by women. As mentioned earlier, a woman's treatment of men varies based on her perception of them. If she doesn't see a man as better than her, she will treat him as useless or inferior. She would treat a man with respect and be more accepting of him if she perceived him as superior to her. Just observe the interactions between a woman and her employer. Who do you think she would treat respectfully if they approached her? The boss or a subordinate? Modern women seem to have lost respect for men, and it appears that most men have recognized this and chosen not to engage with these women. Men have decided to avoid actions that might lead women to disrespect them or belittle them. They've noticed a decline in how women treat men over time and have chosen to prioritize their own name, integrity, and respect over the disrespect shown to them by women. Frankly, I'd rather steer clear of women myself. I've heard stories of women harassing men and then calling the cops on them for no valid reason, simply because the men weren't as attractive or wealthy. So why subject myself or anyone else to that kind of treatment? It just doesn't make sense. I also believe that a significant number of women are no longer worth pursuing. They seem to seek validation from men in public to boost their own egos and embarrass the men in their social circles. Given these circumstances, is it even possible to approach modern women? It seems highly unlikely. Men are waking up to these realities and realizing they shouldn't waste their time on women who are not worth engaging with. Unfortunately, many women don't seem to understand how unfair the dating game has become for men. What are your thoughts on all of this? Do you think men should still approach women? And that's it for today on Sigma Traits. Make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you can be the first to know when my new video drops. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.